Okay, good morning. We are continuing Hilchos Nadarim Reish Yod Zayin. We're going to continue today with Seif Vav. Again, it's all about Lashon B'nei Adam. It's the same Yesod over and over again. Hey, and I do, when we get to Tet, remind me, we will point out or clarify where I stumbled with, you say Zaitim or Anavim or Peirot Stam without using the word Zeh versus using the word Zeh. So we will see it again in Tet. Hey, Hanoder Mehayerek. A person makes a neder, right, in a proper lashon. It makes a neder from the word. He uses the word Mehayerek. We would Yerak. Yerek. We would normally translate that as vegetable. I understand. You would translate that as greens, correct? Okay, whatever it is. Again, it's all lashon b'nei adam, and let's keep reading. Asur afilu biyavesh. So the point of the halacha is that it doesn't matter if it's moist or fresh or it's getting dried out. It's still going to be part of the neder. Miachar she'en lo goren, because it doesn't have. You don't store it in a storehouse. So therefore, as long as it's edible, that's what's called yerek. Umuter bepolim, and it's muter and with beans. Beans are not part of yerek. Umuter bepolim yiveshim. Wait a second, because it does not include dry beans. Because me'achar sheyesh lo goren ve'enam nikraim yerek el halachim. So it depends. If you say the word yerek, if one second. When it comes to beans, they're normally stored long term. So therefore, only if it's only fresh is it a problem by beans. Otherwise, that's considered in Yerek. Yeah, obviously. Here it definitely includes others besides greens. Good. So, anyways, but if it's dry, so then it's not included. If it's dry beans, it's not included because dry beans are normally referred to otherwise, and they have storehouses. Okay, fine. It does not include grains. That's correct. Vav. Anoder mehayerek. Now, if a person uses the word yerek, so then nistapik b'Yerushalmi. It's a suffix in Yerushalmi, and that's going to remain a suffix with us because I'm not familiar with the words. Imhu aser be kulkas or karkas. So I don't know what the vegetable that is, but the Yerushalmi is not sure if yerek is included. Perush Aruch shehu min luf. Again, I'm not sure what that is. And emunach betarmilo aroch v'yeshbo gargirin harbe. So it's something with a lot of, I don't know, kernels or beans attached to it, some kind of a stock that you keep in your a long knapsack. I don't know.
Tarmilo is a palm.
Tarmilo is a palm?
Yeah.
Pea pod. Okay. Okay. So anyways, it's based on Lashon B'nei Adam. So, okay, we will continue. Zayin. Anoder meha basar. A person uses the word meat, says the words basar. So then it's aser. I don't know what version you have. If the poskim say some of the older versions had the word mutter and they say it's a taut sofer, it's supposed to be aser. Begidim. So if a person makes a neder from basar, from meat, it includes all the little the veins or whatever ligaments that come along with the meat. Mehagidim mutter bebasar. But if a person only makes a neder on gidim, so then that would, I believe, include the blood vessels and the ligaments or tendons, whatever's there, but does not include the meat itself. Makom shedarkam. Im yishlach adam shaliach liknat lo basar. A person, so now, again, this is a continuation. A person says the word basar. So the question is, does that include fish? So if you're going to send, someone to go shopping for you to the market, and you go to the marketplace, you say, go bring me back some basar, some meat. So when he gets there, Omer lo matzati ela dagim. So then, if he's going to call you up and say, wait a sec, I couldn't find any meat. Do you want some fish? So then that'll show that it's under the category of dagim. In other words, the dagim is under the category of basar. In other words, obviously you preferred maybe red meat, but the dagim is also included. It's maybe not your first choice, but it's still a subcategory because he's asking you about it. Now again, it really does depend on the place and on the situation. We'll keep reading, and you'll see. But it does depend because sometimes if someone's shopping for you or you go for dinner and you want to take meat and you go there and they can call you at home or whatever it is and they can say there's no meat or the rest or whatever it's too busy. Because you might just choose a whole different food altogether. Just because, so it depends. Just because you throw out the word dagim, you know, if a person wants meat for dinner and they send you to get meat, and then you say, well, there is no meat, so maybe you want pizza, maybe you want fish. So it does depend on the mitzias and how it's used. Im nishba o nadar b'makom zeh mehabasar nesar af bebasar dagim. Okay, so normally speaking, if it's if dagim is included and you say basar, they're asking, so then it's included, and dagim will also be asar. That's a general test, but not 100%. V'chein kol kayotze bazeh, any similar thing like this, right? If it's unclear, if it's a little bit ambiguous, and people would often ask you, so then generally it would be included, right? This is a principle for all foods. Ubekol makom, but always, anywhere in general, hanoder mehabasar, a person makes no. No, it's bazeh, period. Ubekol makom hanoder mehabasar. Any place when a person makes a neder on basar, the rule is asur. But again, you'll see there's a caveat to the rule. It's what's the general rule? Asur be basar ofot, kirbayim, rosh, raglayim, kana, belev. Anytime a person makes a neder on the word, and they say the word basar, so it's included chicken meat or the insides of an animal, the head, the legs, the trachea, the heart, right? The whole animal. Umutar, well, I'll take back the whole animal, but at least the things that we just listed, most things. Umutar bechagavim. And what about locusts? So that's going to be mutar, because that's people do not call chagavim basar. Okay, we'll get to fish in a moment. So fish, the basic rule is you ask the shaliach, what would a shaliach do? But let's keep reading. V'im mariam advarim ba'et shenada shelo niskaven ela bebasar behema bilvad. But you have to use a little common sense and figure out if it was more or less clear that the guy was referring to only red meat. So then, ola basar of ubehema bilvad, or if he was only referring to red meat and chicken and not anything else, harizal mutter bebasar dagim. So then, a fish is for sure going to be mutter in that case. Even if he's going to call and ask, because we know he meant meat. That's what you wanted. You wanted hamburgers, or whatever the case is. If it's clear that you wanted red meat or steak, whatever, so the fact that he asks about fish doesn't all of a sudden mean now therefore it's included. Okay? And if it was clear that you only wanted red meat, so even fish wouldn't be included. The halon is kavin rak lebasar behema, because we're talking about a case when it was clear you only wanted red meat, or when you made the neder, you're only thinking about red meat. Now, the poskim quote the, well, we're going to see it now and later. The poskim point out that nowadays, whenever a person says basar, fish is not included. That's the shach, the taz, b'shem the rashal, and I believe that applies nowadays as well. But okay, ask your community when they say basar, do they include fish? I don't think so. Let's read on. Okay, tet. Hanoder mehakipa mutar berotev meharotev mutar bekipa. So if a person makes a neder and says the words mehakipa from kipa, so then what is kipa? So kipa is basically when you cook a pot and you have little stuff that sticks to the side of the pot, and it's dregs. Well, drugs. Does drugs apply? Drugs is from grapes. It applies here too. Maybe I've seen a translation as strands, but it's a machlokas. So stuff, yeah, stuff stuck to the sides of the pot. So the Ran and the Rambam, one of them explains it's referring to little tiny strands of meat. See that in the Beragola. And the Rambam says it refers to these spices to the sides of the meat, to the sides of the pot. So it could have a real nafkamina ladina. Um, but whatever it is, and again, it's based on Lashon B'nai Adam. So let's keep reading. So if you say kippah, it's not going to include the liquid. And if you say the liquid, or what's it called? Gravy, sauce, or there's another word for it, broth, or some whatever, one of those words. So then it's not going to include this, whatever you want to call it, the dregs, the strands, mutter v'kippah. Meha basar, and if you say the word basar, does basar include these items? No, mutter b'shneim. So the Shulchan Aruch paskins, it's mutter b'shneim. At least that was in his days. Basar does not. If a person just says meat, they would not include the liquid or the kippah. Lo she'amar konam basar ze alai, unless he uses the word basar ze. You don't have ze. Okay, so I have the word zeh. No, no, no. No, that's definitely not. It's two separate cases. This is a continuation. Here I'm going to mention it. This is a continuation of what we learned in Halacha Yud Bet. The Taz, I think you have the Taz though in your Shulchan Aruch, and he says it's a ta'ud that it doesn't have the word zeh and it's supposed to be in there. Right. That's the Taz says. Thanks. So, anyways, we're going to read it according to the Taz and according to my Shulchan Aruch, where it says Konam basar ze alai. If you just say the word basar, so then liquid's not included. But if you say the word basar ze, this piece of meat, and then you have a ta'am of that piece of meat or a mashahu of that piece of meat mixed in the liquid or on the side of the pot, so of course it's going to be asr. Oh, sha'ani to'em or sha'ani ochel. Or if you say, it's a separate case. Or you say konam, we had all this before. Or we had the person says like a neder lashon konam, basar sha'ani to'em or sha'ani ochel. Then you just made a neder on the meat and anything that has a flavor from that meat. So here, yeah. So here, thanks to Rav Moshe last week, or last year, so I just want to point out that when it comes to, if you look back, the end of Reish Tet Zayin in Yud Bet, so anytime you say the words zaytim or anavim or fruit, and you just say stam, and then that item is aser, but then you turn it in later, it becomes a fruit juice, orange juice, wine, or olive oil. Then does it have a different? So then it has a different shame, and since it has a different shame, even though that actual fruit was aser because of your neder, you can make it mutter by squeezing out the juice because the juice doesn't have the same name. So you only aser grapes. You didn't aser this item, you said grapes. So as long as it's grapes, it's aser. As soon as it changes to wine, it transforms and becomes mutter. Unless you said the word zeh, because then it becomes like a cheftza of iser, and it's always going to be aser. Thank you. So that's the same concept over here. And the poskim do point out Shach and the Taz, they quote the Rashal that says nowadays, so I don't know halacha lemaisa, but nowadays they say if you say the word basar, they're both asar. Because when you say a neder, I'm not going to eat any meat, you include the liquid. Or if I'm not going to eat any chicken, you're going to include the liquid from chicken soup. I'm not sure if that applies. This was, a few hundred years ago, so I don't know. Okay, so let's go on. But it goes by Lashon B'nai Adam. So I don't know. We follow the Shulchan Aruch's time, or the next generation at the time of the Rashal, or a couple generations, and the Shach and the Taz. I don't know. Okay, Yud. Hanoder mehagrisin. Asur be, um, I forgot how to pronounce this. Makpe? Mikfa? I don't know. Mikpeh, I think. Sounds right. Whatever. So a person makes a neder not to eat greasing. Greasing are um, some kind of what are beans, right? Some kind of a beans. There's another name for it. We'll call it beans. I don't know if it's grits, beans. We'll call it beans. Person makes a neder from eating beans. Fine. Asar b'mikpeh. So therefore, perush marak hafoi ve'av. Basically, it means it's a thick soup, and so therefore, if a person makes a neder from greasing, it's asar to have soup shell greasing. If it's, let's say, you make a neder not to have peas, so pea soup is also going to be asar for you. But mikveh is basically something that is mashed and thick, or something like that, pureed and thick. Okay. Mea mikveh, if you just say the words mea mikveh, it's a mutter begreasing. If you say pea soup or mikveh, it's not going to include peas or beans. Okay. Mea mikveh, if you say just from the word mea mikveh, asur b'shum, then it includes shum. If you just say the word mikveh, I believe that's the only words you need to say, then you're also going to be usher. If you made a neder from there, you're going to make a neder. It also applies to garlic. Mehashum mutter b'mikpeh. But if you say the word just garlic, that doesn't mean that mikpeh, that soup, all soups become usher. But if you say mikpeh stam, why? Because the Shach and Taz give two different explanations. The Shach says because mikveh means anything that's very soft, like mashed and pureed, and shum is commonly or normally mashed. People don't usually eat whole pieces of shum; they mash it a little bit and then they eat it. So therefore, it's included. But again, it's all based on lashon b'nei adam. May not apply. Okay, and the Taz, if I understand correctly, he says because you're always putting garlic in mikveh. So therefore, if you say one, you also mean the other. Okay. So, anyways, but it depends if people have that in mind. I don't hear people use the word mikveh, and I don't think saying the word soup would include shum. So I don't know. Okay, let's go on. Mea tavlin, a person says the words tavlin. So then, well, first of all, just point out the Shach says tavlin is um, anything that you put in a kadera, in a pot, to make it for flavor. That includes garlic, it includes onion and spices, and those are all included in the word tavlin. I'm not sure if that applies nowadays. If I say the word spices in English, that doesn't that would not include garlic.
Include garlic, granulated garlic.
Can it include granulated garlic? Maybe. Mm. I hear that. I hear that. It would not include herbs like the shach does, as far as I understand. That would be something different. It would not include onions, but like you said, maybe onion powder. Okay, maybe. I hear that. Okay. So, anyways, Tavlin. Just as a general idea, again, we learned that there's a couple, it's not 100% clear, but it goes by Lashon B'nai Adam as the main principle. If it's something that's rarely used, so then we generally go by Lashon Tara. But it all depends. And then just keep in mind that if it's a suffix, we often will say Lahachmer because we're dealing with Dini Daraisa. Anyways, Me'atavin Asr B'chaim, only if it's Asr if it's fresh. Okay, that's a good word. It could be dry, but fresh. Mutter b'muvushalim, but it's mutter if you cook these items, right? Especially if we're talking about non-spices. Anyways, if you cook it, it's not included in tavlin. Tavlin is fresh. V'im amar konam tavlin she'eni tohem asur b'chayim u'mevushalin. But if you say the words that I'm going to get flavor from it, right? Those words, so then it doesn't matter if it's cooked or not, but it's still giving you flavor. Mea kruv. If you say the word, make a neder, you're not going to have the kruv. So then it's asar. Again, I have the, I don't know what you have.
The brackets are on us.
Right. So then you generally read the brackets and you ignore the parentheses. That's a general rule. So Taz has this. But anyways, let's keep going. So we'll say it's asar be'aspargos. It's asar to have aspargos. Okay, what's aspargos? I don't know. Perush. Is it no, it can't be an asparagus because kruv is cabbage, no? I don't think you'd mix up the two. Perush, the Rambam here, Hamayim shebishlu behem hakruv. Water that you cooks inside with cabbage, that's what asparagus is. Rashi says, Perush min kruv. It's a type of cabbage. So you believe a type of cabbage means asparagus. Thank you. Asparagus, mutter bekruv. And if you say the word asparagus, that definitely does not mean cabbage. Okay. Mehakrishin. You say the words mehakrishin. Smutter be kaplatot. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. Mehayerek. You say the word mehayerek. Mutter be yerakot sadeh. So then it's whatever you call yerakot sadeh is mutter. Mipnei shuhu shem levai. It has, or livui. So therefore it has a different name. It's a compound. It's a name, something that always has two names is not the same as having one name. It's a different item. Wild vegetable?
Yes.
Whatever it's called, the Yerakot Sedeh, I don't know. Delashon Bnei Adam Einam Koren Yerek Stam Rak Yerakot HaGedelim Beganot. Because when people say vegetables, it means what they normally refer to as vegetables or what's in gardens, right? What people, farmers. Oh, maybe he means anything wild?
Or maybe not. No.
Anything that's not probably anything that's not normally cultivated or produced by farmers and sold in the market. Melons? No. Melons we call a fruit. No one would call that a yara. Fields. Okay. Yud Aleph. Hanoder mehachalav. A person says a neder he's not going to have any milk. Mutter bekum. So it's a mutter for him to drink whey. Perush mayim muvdalim mechalav kashamirim uto anikrat suru. Right, you leave water out and it starts to settle or separate. Then the top becomes clear, and that's whey. It's also called yisyuve de chalva. Okay, nadar mehakum. If a person says a neder just uses the word kum whey, so then it's mutter b'chalav. So you're allowed to have milk. Okay, one does not apply to the other. However, v'yesh omrim dim korim lakum al shema chalav k'gon shekorim to kuma dechalva asa. So then some say that if it's you don't use the word whey, you use the word whey milk. You always say whey milk. You always milk whey, whatever it is, milk whey. You always use it together. Then if you just say, so this is a whole machloket. What's the case? If you just say kum, you just say chalav, ayin achronim, but whatever it is, then it can also be asa. Mea chalav, mutter begvina. Person makes a neder on the word chalav, that's milk. So again, it's going to be mutter begvina. Cheese is not milk. Okay? I don't think any of us would ever interchange the two. It's milchak, but it's not milk. Mea gvina mutter bechalav, and so too, if you say the word cheese, then it's mutter to have milk. The asur ba, however, if you say gvina, it does apply to bein melucha, bein tefela, bein lecha, bein yevesha. It doesn't matter if it's if it's salty or unsalted or very wet or very dry. Cheese is cheese, and it's all going to be asa. Only eats chalav Yisrael. But I guess go by Leshon Bnei Adam, but I would say not, because it's not this. Gvinas akum is not the same category as chalav Yisrael. It's milk. But Lashon Bnei Adam. Okay, good question. Okay, I don't know. Yud Beis. Hanoder mina dagim. Hanoder mina dagim. A person makes a neder not to have any fish. Mutter betzir or murya shel dagim. But so you are allowed to have the brine, the juice, or whatever it's called,